Hey everyone on YouTube, it's Giles here. How are you guys doing? I hope you're doing well. I apologise if I stumble a little bit in this video. It's a bit of a sort of dictaphone moment where I'm just talking aloud to get my head straight. It's unedited as well, so because there's no time. At the moment, I've been going through so much planning for the projects that I've talked about, you know, things like Skeleton Party and Smoking Robots, and of course I'm still doing weekly work on the Laboratory. And I feel like I'm like building the foundations of some kind of empire right now. An empire that can't really make money, therefore it doesn't even have money to start. And it's interesting sort of going through, you know, like looking at a project that I'm planning, and I think to myself, you know, imagine you've got no time for this and you can only hire people to do it. And so I'm sort of, you know, spending time Googling about, looking at, you know, average quotas for how much certain personnel to create certain projects would cost. And it's weird because it's sort of like you're in two minds, because you end up sort of going, oh, it's not as much as I thought it would be. I still don't have it, but it's not as much as I thought it would be. But yeah, no, it's looking quite interesting at the moment, because my first concern was editing. I'm thinking about YouTube videos. I would like to hire an editor at some point so that I could just continue. Well, I have so many channel ideas. It would just be nice to have an editor. I mean, I've renamed this channel Giles Hellier's Dark Arts and Crafts. We might change the name at some point. The thing is, ultimately, why I've changed the name to this, and I was hoping to have something with a little bit more of a bite to it, because we're just going to be doing arts and crafts here from now on. That includes however you want to define that term. For example, we just had the guitar video. There might be another guitar video on this Saturday. I'm not too sure. If not, it'll be the one after, and that'll be the 5 weeks of playing guitar. But as well, there's going to be a sculpture video where I intend to make a skull. Because why not? You know, never done sculpturing before with air dry clay. I've got some skulls for reference. Put the skull in front of me, make a skull with clay, you know. And I want to resurrect the poetry. I want to thank Tag for that. Tag, am I saying your name right? I bloody hope I'm saying your name right. I've known you for bloody ages, but I've only ever heard your name said once, and I wasn't sure if they were saying it right. But he messaged me recently talking to me about poetry and stuff like that, and it's funny because I almost said to him, oh, you know, oh, no one encouraged me when I talked about my poetry a little while back. But that's a big fat lie, because I went back to those videos and looked in the comment sections, and there's plenty of people saying it was good. But I think that's the problem with you know, nerves or self-esteem or stuff like that. Someone can en masse be telling you, keep doing that thing, it's good, and you just do not hear it at all. So it's on one hand, it's sad that I didn't sort of hear that, but it's good that I should learn it in such an amplified perspective. So that's all good. So that will be I'm still trying to work out what I do with the longer poems, because the longer poems, I don't have the lung capacity to read them in one sitting. But I was also thinking that since they're so involved with how they're read, that they're written with narration in mind, that maybe it shouldn't be done in one take, and maybe I could have a bit of fun with it and record separate takes that are perhaps appropriate to what is going on in the poem. Could be a lot of fun. Now, some of you on Facebook may have seen that the first Smoking Robots comic was finished. It's just well, I don't know, can you call it a funny page if there's 3 pages? But it was 3 pages. It was called The Funeral. and it's just a just a simple gathering of the immediate family, and I didn't want to blubber too much in the description when I uploaded it, but it's a huge milestone for me, regardless of what it looks like, regardless of how how funny you do or don't find it. It is my vision of Smoking Robots and the Wallace family in 3 pages. And considering I came up with the concept for Smoking Robots nearly 20 years ago, I'm extremely happy that I've made a set of pages that I'm happy with. Like sometimes you can feel like you're grasping at straws, trying to throw it together and go, yeah, it's done. Yeah, that's it. It's done. Perfect. And you don't have your head on straight. It's because you're so desperate to get it finished and desperate to see it that you're not being critical enough about it. And this couldn't be further. I think that there is 1 or 2 images that I wouldn't mind re-rendering at some point, but I'm also on the fence about whether I actually like them or not, because they sort of went a bit grainy. But I sort of thought, well, the first grainy one is like on the on like a set of stairs looking down into the living room, and I sort of thought, well, life is a bit grainy when you're in a dingy hallway, you know. I'll work it out later. But my point is that it's like the pebble is nearly on the mountain and ready to roll. I don't know. You could argue that it is ready to roll because I've finished all the characters, finished the house, but I still need to build the external of the house because that is visible in a good number of scripts, and I also need to conquer the Sledgehammer, which is the pub where all the characters go to, and the Sledgehammer kind of has its own immediate family with it. So all the work that I've done building the Wallace family and their household is probably half the main bulk of work. So now I need to build the other half of them. Ragdoll Comics, I want to talk a little bit about Ragdoll Comics, which is going to be what Smoking Robots is under the name of. And this is because there are several comics and several stories that I've written that I don't think are suited for the Libisatory. The Libisatory, if you don't know, is where I produce adult content. I'm not like for example, Smoking Robots. It's just family comedy, well, guttural family comedy. You wouldn't put that in a porn site. It does not compute. But sort of the hope long term eventually is to slowly feel like some 80s movie where I'm merging 2 powers, the Libisatory and Ragdoll Comics, but the idea is that slowly, at some point, they will become one. Like for Ragdoll Comics, Ragdoll Comics is named after a character of mine called the Ragdoll, which is like a superhero character with like a big zombie mask, and it's a lot to talk about there. I'll spare it for later. But in short, the whole reason why Smoking Robots isn't produced self-titled is just because there's more stuff that for me to produce under my real name at this immediate point in time. And the last thing I was going to mention was a commentary channel. I wanted to start a commentary channel at some point. Do you know what? 2 things have brought this to light. Well, actually, many things. On top of the fact that I like to criticise the fuck out of things, but as well, I like to praise the fuck out of things. I like sort of talking about, a lot of you guys know I'm like a big sitcom head, and I love, situational comedies, and historically, I mean, at the moment I'm watching through Golden Girls, and after that I want to watch through Maude, and then Life with Elizabeth, which was back in the 50s. And, I sort of jump around like that. Like I see Golden Girls and Dorothy's making me laugh the most. And so then I go back to Maude and then still watching Golden Girls and Betty White. I'm like, what is the career of Betty White? And then I saw like half an episode of Life with Elizabeth, and I was like, oh, no, I'll watch the whole thing. But it's funny because I've always had very, very strong opinions in entertainment, and there are several reasons for that. And you know, I subscribe to a lot of commentary channels on YouTube, and some I find are better than others. I don't typically agree with the left-wing ones as much as I agree with the right-wing ones, but the right-wing ones still, their perspective, it's like right, but with the well poisoned, and that's usually through you know, religion, or you know, let's face it, no one likes boobs, left or right. Yeah. I don't get it, you know. But it's but there's that, but there's also my love for B movies, and I still trying to sort of work out how those two elements can coexist. You know, am I really gonna make a channel where I'm focused on sitcoms and B movies? That they don't always marry that well. But you know, I'm gonna spend some more time thinking about it, and sort of you know, work. I mean, a lot of it started with you know the what's it called? She-Hulk has been announced as cancelled, which I'm so in two minds about this, because I thought the show is dreadful. It's a crap idea, crappily executed. There's not a single redeeming feature about it, but I love She-Hulk. So how could they do this? How could they fuck up something so simple? Beefy green woman beats people up. How could you fuck up something that simple? You know? But I watch it. I watch people laying commentary on it, and it just I'm itching to get in there, because I'm watching those who defend it, who are mental, and those who are attacking it, which also kind of seem a bit mental to me. You know, like they sort of every now and then they make like shots about the fact that they don't like buff women. And I'm like, who doesn't like buff women? Are you mental? You know. But you know, the thing that bugged me about that whole thing is that they made a CGI buff woman. Why? Like, they apparently, like, the CGI costs like something like 25 million per episode. Really? You just go into a gym, just like, who wants to be She-Hulk? You have like loads of media. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, it boggles the mind. Although I suppose, was that woman that was actually playing She-Hulk, was that like a star power thing? I don't know if she was like popular or something, and so they were like, we have her, but she's not buff, so we have to CGI her. Let's find a woman that looks like her who's also buff. You know, that's what they used to do. It used to be like the Hulk. You know, you have like Bruce Banner, and then Bruce Banner, other actor, is the buff version. You know, it's really not rocket science. But yes, there's that. But I worry that if I have an opinion channel, it will branch out into other things. Because there's other thing that happened the other day that just pissed me off so much. Like I blew a clickbait fuse. Like I got had by some clickbait, and it made me so angry that I was just like, I had to stop myself, because I was like, I have to make a video about this. No, I have to calm down and not make a video about this. Because, like, I'm not going to say who it was, but I follow a lot of fitness YouTubers on YouTube. And this dude he's got quite a clean reputation. I've always respected him. And like I said, I'm not going to say who it is. Just because, not that I'm big and it would be a problem, but I just don't want to go down that avenue. But he uploaded a video of him looking really sad in the thumbnail, you know, and the video was entitled, I have something to tell you, ... written in lowercase, you know, trying to look as pathetic as possible. And you know that always stands out when the I in particular is in lowercase. And you click on it. He's just trying to sell you a new product of his. You know, it's like a donuts product or something like that. And it's weird because I've always respected this guy, and that to me, that kind of clickbait, unfortunately, it's common practice now, but that doesn't make it right. And I basically I left a comment, you know, telling him what a bell end he was. Oh, it was. Actually, do you know what? It wasn't that bad. I basically said, I'm disappointed in you. And he comes back at me saying, what clickbait? What are you talking about? I did have something to tell you. And that, to me, was worse than everything else that he did. You know, it's like it's one thing to do it. It's another thing to not be open about it when you're called out about it, and to sort of to minimise like that. I was like, you manipulative little fucker. You know, it's like, how can you be like a 300-pound muscle man and be such a pussy? Like, I don't get it. Excuse my language, but you know what I mean? Like, I was just sort of like, fuck this. But like, it's stuff like that that I'm like, I would appreciate a commentary channel, or you know, or I'm gonna die from an aneurysm, you know, like that Malcolm in the Middle episode where he gets like a peptic ulcer and lands in hospital. But I don't know, you know, at the moment I've no idea what it would be called or anything like that. And I would like to focus it more on positivity, but I worry that if I sort of have that wormhole open, that I'll just like lose my shit on a regular basis. But then again, maybe that could be helpful, you know? I mean, healthy, beg your pardon. You know, from the sense that it's sort of the Shrek logic, better out than in. Like, I don't know if you ever noticed, but some of the people that complain the most tend to be the happiest. Jim Cornette comes to mind if you're like wrestling. People say he's such a mean, aggressive man, but if you watch his interviews, he's like one of the most cheerful and jolly people you can ever meet. Because if you get all your hatred and your anger out, it doesn't fester and stagnate and rot inside you. You let it out like bad gas so that you don't have a bad belly. You know, that's my logic. But who knows? It depends if we get there or not. You know, I'm just starting to like reach this point in my life where I feel like if I don't, you know, if I continue being worried about things and worried about what people and stuff think of me, then I'm gonna continue losing ground. You know, when I look at sort of what I don't know if I'm getting too personal here. I don't. I'm having a coffee. We're having a chat. I don't know. But like I just think to myself, you know, I have always been an unusual man for one reason or another. Like I said, there are reasons for that. But this makes me sort of cower a little bit from society, and I think to myself, well, if you let it run your life, then you're just going to go further and further into the corner, and all the things that you want to do and you want to be will get harder and harder. And I wouldn't say I'm running out of time, but in terms of getting as much done as I would like, I need to start as soon as possible, you know? I'm so sorry if you could hear my boiler. How obnoxious was that? But that really threw me off. I was trying to have a bit of a deep moment then. I was having a hard time talking to you. So yeah, I this is probably a bit of a ominous place to leave this, but you know, I think it'll be an interesting endeavour, especially for the fact that I don't like. I think that that negativity and criticism, I think there's a balance that you always want to try and be constructive and stuff like that. Like, one thing I've always had a problem with critics is that they have never ever offer anything in the placement of what they're criticising. You know, like they like, oh, you know, so and so's acting just what's not up to snuff, and you're just sort of like, well, what do you think they should have been doing? You know, because oftentimes when you explain what they should have been doing, people can take your opinion on board. Even the people you're criticising go, "Oh, you've got a point there." You know, but if you're just like, "This is shit," now give me money. You know, it doesn't compute. So maybe I'll enter something like that. But and if I did, it will probably just be videos like this. I can't afford to pay anyone to edit videos or what have you. But yes, and they probably won't be uploaded to this particular channel because I do feel like I am opening different channels to keep content separate. And it's simply, I mean, I'll use it for example, the Skeleton Party channel. Haven't even announced that yet. Have I even opened it yet? I don't know. But you know, but it's because if the Skeleton Party, when the movie gets done, I don't want it to be drowned out in a bunch of rants about She-Hulk and muscle men who con you. You know, I want it to be its own thing, kept in its neat little box. And the same goes for, you know, I don't like a lot of cross contamination, you know, but maybe that's something that needs to change. I don't know, but all I know is that the coin videos were not well received here, and actually they're not doing well on their own channel. I don't think people were interested, to be honest, but I'll keep doing it. I like it, you know. So. Anyway. Thanks very much for watching. I'm going to leave it there before I yammer. This is just like a little pre-work waffle that I wanted to have. Yes, I hope you guys are doing very well, and I'll talk to you soon. See you later.